Hey, on today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit about Jim's favorite actor, Leo DiCaprio. Alabama sorority speaks.
Roll Tide.
I don't know what that means, but I'm shocked that they can even speak. We're also going to talk about the leading trans health group and some of their bizarre recommendations. We have an interview with January Littlejohn and her attorney, Vernadette Broyles. A must listen, folks.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. We've got that and much, much more on this episode of the Two Guys, One Coup podcast.
Welcome to the Two Guys, One Coup podcast with Dale and Jim, where the truth matters and progressives' feelings don't. We bring you the facts from the perspective of two average, everyday guys who will never apologize for being America first, for adhering to our great Constitution, and for saluting the flag that our brothers and sisters have fought and died for. And now, here's Dale and Jim.
Jim, let's get right into this. We got a new logo. So we got a new logo, and it's phenomenal. I love it. It looks great.
99.9% of our listeners like it so far.
Yep, exactly.
But
point
there's
one
a point
doesn't.
one.
Who's the point one, Jim?
Mama Dale.
Dale's mama. Says, doesn't look like you. Jim is okay. Well, so that she posted that on our Two Guys One Coup Facebook page underneath that, and for all the world to see. Like I said, Mom's she's 83 and doesn't quite get the whole private messaging portion of social media yet, so the whole world can see it. And but anyways, the logo looks great. It's phenomenal. We can't thank Lisa. Is it? Did I say her name wrong? Look, Julie. Why am I thinking
Bridges.
Lisa? Sorry, Julie. Jeez. We can't thank Julie enough for doing it. She is, although, going to redo Dale a little bit, apparently, because my mom doesn't think it looks like me.
Definitely going to give her a plug because she's very talented.
She is very talented, and she's worked hard on this, and it's very much appreciated. So hard that I forgot her name. I apologize, Julie.
All right.
So
I've known her. Her daughter and my daughter were best friends through. So
nice.
We know.
Okay,
Yep.
Good. Well, she did a great job, and we thank her for that. So new logo, kind of rebranded, a little bit of the Two Guys, One Coup. We just think
More
it's
fun,
time.
a little bit.
More
Yeah.
fun,
Yeah.
something to do, a little different, show our faces.
Yeah.
Items to be sold at a later date, right, Jim?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're going to
shirts,
try some hats.
travel mugs.
We're going to try some
know.
hats. Travel mugs. Travel mugs and hats. Those will be easy to put on. It's the shirts that.
Yeah. Jim's,
we'll see.
You're just worried. You're worried just because you.
Yeah, because I like black. I
you
like
don't
the
have
black
fashion
color,
sense.
and I have zero fashion sense. That's for sure. I wear black shoes with brown belts and vice versa.
Yeah, tan pants and purple high tops.
But when you're a black belt, you collect all these belts. So
yeah, that's why you have brown belts. You dork.
Blue, red.
Yeah, that's right. Anyways, folks, so that's out there. I just kind of wanted to get that off my chest a little bit about Mama, and thank you for the input, Mom. I do appreciate it.
We love you, Mom.
Yep, and she is going to work on that a little bit to make it look more like me, which I thought the picture actually looks better than me. So that's why, I mean, who wants to see me? I want to see a better version of me.
She's your mom.
Well, of course.
She cares for you and wants the best for you.
She's protective.
She's
protecting her baby boy. She's protecting her favorite child, by the way, just so everybody knows that, including my two siblings, one of who will never listen to this show.
I was going to say
But anyways, we got some stuff to talk about. I think, Jim, like I'd mentioned, we have an incredible interview at this. And we say that. I mean, every show, the interviews are great. They really are. And they are. They're incredible. But we have some very important, serious topic to discuss with January Littlejohn, I think most people know her or remember her. She is the mother and also mental health professional in Leon County, Florida, which is the Tallahassee, Florida area, whose daughter was wanting to go or started to go through the transitioning process of being a girl to a boy, at least the thought process of it, at the school she was at, without the school informing January or her husband. So you may know that story. If not, honestly, where you been? Because it's been out there, and she's been very vocal, and she's been everywhere, every news source about it. Her attorney, Vernadette, amazing spokesperson and fighter for this. We'll tell you all about her organization and her background, and you get to hear all that, and where you can go to fight this whole Title IX that we've talked about many, many times on, where you can go to fight this, and it needs to be done, people.
And it's more than just college sports.
It's far
more than just that. I mean, yeah, that's the big part. It's a big part of it, but this is more than this.
Jim. Yeah, to me, that's the part they want you to think it's all about.
Yeah.
So they do, and that's bad enough, right? That's bad enough.
Folks,
this
your parents
far worse.
As a parent, you have no rights.
You have none.
Zero. The
Zero
government
rights.
is about ready to take over your children.
Yep. And Title IX is the way they're doing it. So seriously, guys, this is far more important than anything we've ever discussed on the show.
We're going to laugh a lot today because we feel like laughing, but when we get to the end and when we talk about this is a serious topic, and
this is super serious. So there will be none of that. There's no laughing matter on this. Completely serious and so scary to think about what could potentially happen unless we take action and take it now. So we'll explain all that. Jim, what is going on with Trump and this whole document thing that
I don't know if we're ever going
wants to hide?
But aren't you a little concerned that the DOJ is trying to block the release of affidavits and all these other documents that were involved with the raid? Now, why would the DOJ want to block this, Dale?
Why would they want to? And how dare you call it a raid? It wasn't a raid.
Okay, can somebody explain to me why they took his passport?
Yeah. Why did they take his passport?
Was it not declassified?
Yeah. Why would you take his passport? I mean, this is such a political... This administration being ran by Barack Obama and Joe Biden and every one of those cronies that have been involved in it, wouldn't even doubt if Hillary's got her stupid hand in it somewhere. This is third world bullshit. Yes, it is. It's unbelievable what's happening here. I don't even recognize the country under these people. I just don't. I just don't. It's sad. So I don't know why.
The lack of concern. The lack of concern.
Yeah.
With 87,000 IRS people hired.
Correct.
This bill that all the money that's going towards climate change to assist the climate, and realizing when we talked about on the last show, there's going to be food shortages because you're going to have to reduce. You will get, more than likely, you're going to get taxed if you are if you own a cattle farm.
Correct.
And they're going to have these little meters out there measuring how much carbon emissions you are sending into the air.
Unbelievable to me.
And then when I talk about the wonderful Leo DiCaprio.
Yep.
Anyway, we'll get into that.
I thought he drowned.
But this administration, this administration is just, guys, if you're watching CNN, MSNBC, you're not seeing this stuff. You're just not.
Turn it off.
Turn it off. We go out every day. Oh, yeah. Surprise, surprise. That story's not there. Or if the story's there, it's, what is Trump hiding? Why is Trump so upset? Or the FBI is worried now because of the pushback against the FBI. There's going to be dirty possible bombs. People going. Yeah.
You see all the dirty bombs that have been blowing up out there? Yeah, they're just. It's a joke. It's a sad joke, and it's not like we didn't know this was going to happen if a Biden would be president of the country, right? Of course we knew it. They knew it too. and they knew what it took to get Biden to be president.
Obama-din.
Biden.
Obama-din.
Is it Obama-din or Obama?
I got to put the M. Obama-din. Yeah.
Obama-din. President Obama-din. Yeah.
He didn't screw up the country the 8 years enough. He wants to continue.
He tried, didn't
Yep,
he?
he did.
Certainly tried.
He did.
You know, they planned on Hillary continuing his screw up, but they're all back in there now. You know, one way or another.
Yep.
Their dirty little stinky Democrat, liberal, progressive, socialist, communist hands are deep into our government.
And I'm glad they are.
Yeah, boy. Who isn't?
We're much better off.
Aren't we? Aren't you? I mean, when they clearly say, a lot of times when they're like, well, are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? Or are you worse off today? I was worse off the day after the election. I mean, it was already worse off.
Well, there's people in my family that hated Trump. They hated Trump with a passion.
So
and so whenever we sat here and said, in the 4 years he was there, he did a good job. And they said, well, financially.
Okay.
What do you mean financially? He said, well, but he was racist and all that stuff. And then, of course, the only thing they can give me is the comment he made against when the
Charlottesville.
No, when they were coming across the border. There's rapists. There's
God.
And there were, but they missed the point. He didn't say all.
No,
he didn't say everybody coming across there. He said a lot of them coming across are rapists.
Yep.
Drug dealers, human traffickers, and guess what, folks?
Guess what?
There were,
and still are.
Yep,
in droves coming across.
So just little comments that people, you can always take bits and pieces of what somebody says and turn them in. It is.
Well, they did the same thing. I think I just saw recently, and I need to investigate a little bit more. But they took an old piece from 2020 DeSantis. And they spliced it together as to show how DeSantis was supportive of the FBI raid on Trump, and played it. This is what they're doing, folks. I mean, they don't care. They don't care if they're held liable. You get people like The View, who's been sued by Kyle Rittenhouse and folks like that. They don't care.
But they hire two conservative voices now.
Oh, shut up. Oh, Jesus God. Yeah, two conservative voices. Hillary Clinton and Valerie Jarrett. Why not?
George Will was always ABC's fallback conservative. And
George Will. George Will. They might as well have George Bush.
Mm-hmm.
And who else, Jim? Who's one of our other? And Karl Rove. So are we going to talk about that? Or
I guess, we can talk about it briefly if you want to, but, Liz Cheney got $1 million for her campaign, which I think it's tomorrow, right?
It's today. The primary's today. I mean, that's it. Primary's today.
And it's Tuesday.
Yeah. So we're guys
recording Tuesday night. So, oops.
Yeah. Oops. So it could happen could be breaking news while we're on the air. Who knows? Yeah. But we're recording because of some scheduling things later in the week with yours truly. Happens to be my daughter's birthday. So when you hear this,
happy birthday
on Thursday, tomorrow is her birthday. So happy birthday, my wonderful, beautiful, intelligent, tremendous daughter. My favorite daughter.
100% takes after her mother.
In a lot of ways, she does. Correct. But as spectacular looking as me.
100% takes after her mother.
But it's good looking as me, though. I mean, let's be honest.
And your mom.
No,
because we love your mom.
Well, we sure do. I do. I absolutely love my mom. Of course. I love my mom.
There are avid listeners.
I'm just gonna have to teach her when she comes out how to private message.
It's all right.
Not publicly message.
It's all right.
It is all right. And how could I look better, Jim?
I'm trying to figure that out. I don't know.
Exactly.
I mean,
Thank you.
I sit here, and the reason I get screwed up a lot of times is I'm lost in your eyes half the time, and I just get, oh my God, look at those.
Dreamy. I mean, basically dreamy, aren't I? Yeah.
The song by Debbie Gibson comes to mind.
I have no idea who that is.
Lost in Your Eyes from the 1980s. Remember? Debbie Gibson.
I recognize the name. Don't recognize the song. But anyways, Jim, you've got stuff you want to talk about,
Yes.
right? And I've got stuff I want to talk about. We've got an incredible interview coming at the second half of this episode. Jim, I don't know why. I just want you to go first because I'm tired of talking. So you're up first.
Very good. Okay.
Hi, Jim.
I've got a couple stories here.
Okay.
I love it when these climate defenders, right? These climate change defenders and all this stuff about going. Anyway, so now we got another one. Leonardo DiCaprio traveled across the world on gas guzzling private jets and embarked on long yacht trips, while his foundation quietly funded climate change lawsuits levied against big oil.
Big oil. He doesn't use any oil, I think, in planes.
Question? No, I thought that it did, but I forgot that he has electric yachts and electric jets. I completely forgot.
Yeah, I agree. They run off water. I think it's just circulating water. Yeah.
DiCaprio, a famous actor and climate activist, has embarked on multiple fossil fuel powered trips over the last several years while pushing for extreme measures to combat climate change. The Leonardo DiCaprio Foundation.
Can they go back to global warming, Jim? I mean, just
no. But I do have a question.
Oh, I got an answer.
If you fly this way, if you fly backwards. Back this way, does that erase?
It takes it away. It erases the carbon.
I think that might erase the carbon.
So the only way you use carbon, you leave a carbon footprint, is if you go one way.
I just saw climate change.
Jim.
I've seen it on the real reason I say I saw it on a bunch of cartoons when I was young.
The Nobel Prize is surely going to be yours soon.
when the plane forgot, then they came. They went backwards. Anyway, because that's what this climate change shit. It's cartoon comic shit.
It's cartoony. Yeah, it's bullshit. But a lot of money.
The Leo DiCaprio Foundation.
Oh, I didn't know he had one.
Yeah.
Okay. That seems legit.
Which surprisingly the actor founded. Why wouldn't he, right? 1990s awarded grants.
It'd be odd if he founded the Matthew McConaughey Foundation.
It's got to be interesting. But it funds back to private law firms' efforts to hold oil companies liable for climate change. Now, the reason I think this is important, you're going to hold big oil companies responsible for climate change. What do you think they're going to do to industries, businesses, cattle farmers? Just keep that open, folks.
Just keep that open. That's right.
Steve Malloy, a former energy official under the Trump administration, so this is a man with logic and common sense, is not surprised. There's this whole left-wing dark money network.
Of course.
How many times do we hear about this dark money? That money comes from someplace, and these guys, high-profile, wealthy lefties, are funding it. Okay, so we always hear the term dark money because a lot of times it's pointed at our Moms for Liberty people. And like many of them say, where is it?
Where is it? Where's all that dark money?
There is not a single climate activist who is not a complete hypocrite about all of this, Malloy said.
Correct.
Everything they do is just total hypocrisy. I would say they have no self-awareness, but they just don't care. All this is really meant to control us, not for them to control themselves. DiCaprio's past fuel-powered travels included 6 round-trip trips on private jets over the course of just 6 weeks in 2014. Sony Picture Studios arranged for DiCaprio to take a private jet from California to New York during the period between April and May of 2014, according to internal Sony emails published by WikiLeaks. The United Nations appointed DiCaprio as a messenger of peace in 2014. Do you think we'll get that someday?
I'm sure you and I'm waiting. I'm waiting for the
I can't
email
afford
to
a
show
private
up.
jet, or trust
I
me,
can't.
I'd be flying all over because apparently it doesn't give off carbon emissions.
It doesn't.
So-
You're okay.
so-
You're okay to fly a jet.
In 2016, DiCaprio reportedly
if you've got
flew
enough money.
8,000 miles via private jet to Europe and New York
Well,
City
nice.
to accept an award for his environmental activism.
Yay, Leo!
Then
You're
he
the
flew
man.
back to Europe for a charity
Yeah.
event
Oh my gosh.
for climate change. I love him.
I love it too.
These people make me laugh.
Yeah, I
the
know.
same year, DiCaprio took a private jet to the World Economic Forum. Why in the hell would he need to go there? In Davos,
Yeah.
Switzerland. At the summit, the WEF gave DiCaprio a Crystal Award for his leadership in tackling the climate crisis. So what I'm hearing, Exxon should be the next people that win this award because
I
Come
think
on.
so too. I mean, what is going on?
okay, I'm not gonna go into all this other stuff, but guys, it's just we talked about John Kerry.
Yeah.
Well, now though he's flying
hypocrite.
commercial though, which commercial jets. Anyway,
Zero emissions.
see this
mean,
way he can blame everybody else on the plane.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all their fault,
Exactly.
but-
How long do you think he's going to fly? How long do you think he's going to fly commercial?
Not. My
Before
guess is he only flew. He
Yeah, the
maybe
one
only
time.
flew once, and that guy does not
like-
fly. You remember
Yeah.
back when, and this is way off. Okay, when he was running for president,
Yeah.
and they went into a Wendy's to act like
Oh, I
normal
know.
people, and
No, yeah.
and his wife Teresa Heinz Kerry.
Yeah.
What's chili?
What's chili?
See,
What's
they don't eat
chili?
chili. She probably
chili?
doesn't even know what ketchup is. Because they don't use ketchup. Don't they use Grey Poupon? Or whatever?
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, and her name is Ketchup.
Yeah.
I mean, her
I
family.
honestly don't
is
think
ketchup.
this. They have no clue.
They have
These
no
individuals on the left have no idea what they're talking about, what they're doing.
Yeah.
This is a money
Yeah.
scam. This is a money
Yeah.
scheme. That's all it is.
I love when all these rich people go into these locations, like Romney when he went into a Sheetz, I think, or something, right? Gas station. He's like, "Oh, look at this! I can order a sandwich." You mean the things we've been doing for years and years and years, us po folk there, Romney? Thanks. Why make yourself even look that way? It's just so stupid.
It's just- anyway,
Oh, God's sakes. Yeah.
but guys, don't fall for this.
Hypocrites.
Crap. I mean,
Hypocrites.
Okay, so
Yeah.
roll tide, roll
Yeah.
tide.
Excuse me for a second.
I'm a huge Alabama. Been a huge Alabama football fan since 2014, I think.
I think ever since they lost to Ohio State.
Ever since Saban was there, we're just awesome. But so anyway,
Well, I wouldn't root for
sorority-
Indiana football either. But go ahead.
Well, I do.
Yeah.
They're my
Yeah,
main
well, I
one,
don't
but I
know.
need somebody. Remember, I was a Bengals, Reds, and Hoosier fan. I needed something. Okay, guys, I needed something, and Alabama was my guy. Of course,
don't know
then
why.
since I
Go on.
started really following them, they think of only one national title. So whoops.
Yeah. Typical of who Jim follows.
You're
So,
gonna like
go on.
this one though.
Oh boy, I'm
Sororities
ready.
at the University of Alabama rejecting current political correctness stuck together as they opposed a biological male attempting to join their sororities.
Well, I'm glad they did, but kudos to that male for trying. I think it's bullcrap. I think we can all figure he's not.
At that age. Sure.
Sure.
Can I
sure,
shower?
I'm a girl. That's
communal
right.
showers. This is awesome.
I identify as Susie. Sure.
University of Alabama student Grant Sykes stated he attempted to join the sororities but was unanimously rejected. According to Outkick, Sykes posted his quest on TikTok, accruing several million views, but the sororities dismissed the idea of a man joining their group. Unfortunately, this chapter is closed, Sykes complained on Instagram. This recruitment journey is over for me, being dropped from my last house this morning. I got an idea. Why doesn't he try out for a fraternity? Anyway.
I know.
because that's where most of the men go to. But I'm just
I'll tell you why.
Big drop from my house this morning during primary recruitment at the University of Alabama doesn't come as a surprise, considering out of almost 20 chapters, I was dropped by every single one except 2 before day 1.
Oh wow! Yeah,
Would you just stop? I mean,
18 of them just said no right away, right?
Right away.
Before even, right away.
I'm
As
hopeful,
they should.
I'm hopeful for a future where everyone is welcome for just being themselves everywhere, he preached. If you are going through a hard time today, remember that life is too short to ponder on the things lost. Choose happiness and always look for the positive things throughout life. Move on. See the good. See the bad. Hope for the best. Brave the worst. This man is going to be headlining the next Democratic presidential election.
Oh, he will. He will. Inspiring words.
Sports commentator Clay Travis reacted to the sorority standing.
I love Clay Travis.
Roll Tide.
Yeah. Did he? Did he say that?
And remember, he's a Nashville guy.
He's a Nashville.
So good for them for standing up to the absurdity.
Agreed.
Good for the women at the University of Alabama, for the people who are advising them, for them being willing to stand up to be called transphobic or whatever you want to say. I can't believe I have to say this. Men should not be able to be members of an Alabama sorority.
I can't believe they have to say that either. And this literally comes from a state where they marry their uncle daddies.
Well,
I mean, so
now what I'm going to say here,
sorry, Alabama, I just can't.
I would venture to guess a lot of these women in these sororities were all for Leah Thomas swimming. I bet you there was a number of them that were for that.
Well,
being allowed for him to swim.
But
and it means differently to other people. When it happens to you, you think differently because now you've got a man going to be watching you changing, running around in your panties and everything else, which I give the guy credit. The guy, way to go, dude.
I don't know what the guy looks like. I haven't seen. Or I've seen.
Maybe he could have made Lambda.
He could have. Revenge of the Nerds. If anybody doesn't know, look it up. Old 80s movie. Phenomenal movie.
Omega move.
So,
anyway,
clap your hands, everybody.
But anyway, this poor young man's 19-year-old. He doesn't have a house to stay in on the University of Alabama.
Did they even go into his past history? Has he wanted to transition, or did he get told?
Honestly think it matters.
Yeah, I don't think
to them.
Well, it does. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying because I think it's a bullcrap scheme, and he was trying to get into a woman. Like I said, that's the case. I have more respect for him if he did that than if he's actually transitioning and so worried about, in a world one day, I hope that men can be in sorority. I mean, come on, you whack job. Okay. And then that's even wacky for Alabama, right?
Yeah. So the last thing I had, the international sorority. So it's the international, later apologized for hesitating and approved Hopkins membership. This was, as far back as 2016, a sorority at Tufts University, Alpha Omicron Pi. I'm not kidding you. Alpha Omicron Pi offered a membership to a 19-year-old Harper Hopkins, a biological male. The sorority's national office was reluctant to offer membership. Cosmopolitan magazine ran the story, denouncing the sorority as inherently transphobic. The international sorority later apologized for hesitating and approved Hopkins membership. The AOP, Alpha Omicron Pi's interim president, Amanda Wisty, stated that's a sorority's policy change on transgender students, including changing women to female identifying.
How did they know what a woman was?
I don't know. But so kudos to Alabama, but we still have sororities out there in other universities that
it's going to happen. They're going to infiltrate it.
Of course.
It's bullcrap and it's going to happen.
We're going to have pregnancies go up in sororities just like the prisons.
That's right. That's right.
Because all you got to do, ladies, take a shower with the guy.
Yeah.
And just wait and see.
Yep. Not making light of it, but just ask the sorority what it was like when they let Ted Bundy in.
Too soon. It's too soon.
They didn't let him in. I'm just a joke. It's a horrible joke. That was horrible. Jim,
We need to move on.
That was terrible. Can I edit that? Should I edit that out of there? It's a Ted Bundy joke. Is that now? Is it too soon for Ted Bundy jokes? Or
anyway,
sad. That was sad. I don't even know why my mind went there. Jim, you bring me to these places. We're moving on. It's Jim's fault.
I never said Florida State.
I'm just saying. It's Jim's fault.
I never said Florida State.
You get me in the you bring me into a serial killer kind of mind frame.
Remember,
Jim,
folks, never kill someone you know. Anyway, move on.
Jim, we're moving on. That I'm leaving in. That's sound advice. Jim, we're moving on. Whatever. Let's get on with it. Listen, Jim, here's some crazy stuff going on, and this will kind of lead right into our interview, I think. So it's a great segue into our serious interview. So as Jim often lifts us up, our spirits, and makes us laugh, Dale will quickly bring us right back down to earth. So, listen, what's going on here? A confidential document obtained by the Post-Millennial. Now, I'm not sure if it's a website, but just anyways, you can go to it.
If it was a confidential document, how could it have been obtained?
It's obtained. You can obtain
so
confidential
it wasn't confidential.
things. It's confidentially obtained
By
the Post-Millennial from the leading transgender health association. Shows they plan to lower the recommended age for minors to obtain cross-sex hormones that cause permanent changes to the body and irreversible chest, genital, and face surgeries. This health association is one that countless doctors and hospitals rely on to create their guidance for a medicalized gender transition for minors and adults. The World Professional Association for Transgender Health, which from this point forward will be known as WPATH, is set to release the 8th edition of their standards of care this year, but recently unearthed early draft reveals that their minimum age recommendations for children to start the process of medicalized gender transition have been lowered. For cross-sex hormones, which we talk a lot about, the recommended minimum age has been lowered to 14 from 16.
So 16 was the...
Yeah.
That's...
wasn't low enough for them. They lowered it to 14. In the previous guidelines, the recommended age limit for double mastectomies of healthy breasts have been lowered to 15. And for male minors seeking breast augmentation, WPATH recommends 16-year-olds as the lower age limit. This is also the age limit per their draft for facial surgeries and tracheal shaves. Now, I got to look some of this stuff up. A tracheal shave, is that to augment the voice, or is that to get rid of an Adam's apple? Is that to... I have no idea what a tracheal shave is. That's the first time I've ever heard of that. Jim, you might know what a tracheal shave is. Okay. I don't know.
Maybe to remove the Adam's apple. I think you might be right.
Maybe. I thought you'd be Googling that, researching it as I said. But
no, because you get mad at me when I don't pay attention to you.
Jim, you make me sound like I'm an ogre.
Jim, is there something more interesting that you're looking at? Anyway,
especially when videos pop up. The age for genital surgery, such as hysterectomy or vaginoplasty, has been lowered to 17. See, a minor. It's a minor. Last I saw, minor. A year earlier than previous. So it was 18. They're now lowering it to 17.
18 is when it should start, and that's even arguable then.
To me, that's arguable.
Yeah. I mean, it's either...
You're right. But again, when you're an adult, it's really hard to. But there are 18-year-olds in school still, right? I was 17 when I graduated. I don't know how old you were. Probably
14.
28. Okay. Boy, we went opposite directions, didn't we? On our thought process. So after 14, you got out of elementary school. You went into middle school. But anyways, yeah, I mean, even if you're in school, I don't even care if you're 18. You know, I don't think that should be.
Yeah, I know there's
not for me
arguments
to-
about 18 even. Okay,
There
but,
is.
but the
18's
reason you
a
and I say 18
hard
because it's
argument.
adulthood. I mean, that's when you're considered adult.
As
and
the
everything
current
else.
standards are
Right.
set. Now,
But, you know,
18 is adult.
But I think that's when it should start.
Yep.
Okay.
Agreed.
When we mean starting, that means 20 and 21 is when you're going through all this stuff, right?
Yep,
The
that's right.
surgeries
Because
and
18,
everything
you're
else.
going through the mental aspect
Exactly.
of it, talking to counselors,
Yes.
talking to therapists, doing that.
Yeah. There is
I
no
don't-
reason a 14-year-old should be talking to anybody about double
No.
mastectomy or
No. I don't disagree with 14-year-olds maybe going to some form of therapy with the parent involved.
No,
You know,
absolutely.
but
Yeah.
but not talking about, oh, we're going to remove your healthy breasts, or we're going to give you a vasectomy or a hysterectomy, and we're going to put you on all these puberty blockers because we know exactly what. I mean, we know exactly what that does. Dude, is your dog okay? Is puppy? Bella's
She's
in
literally right at my feet, and
Yeah, I figured.
I just don't want to move the chair.
Do not crush her. The audience will send you hate mail if they don't already.
Dude, this will be the last show of Two
What?
Guys in One Coup if I hurt this dog.
I know.
I will not be alive.
You will not be alive.
Don't believe the suicide note when you find me ripped up and cut up into 18 pieces and in a freezer. Don't believe the suicide note.
Just put Clinton in it. It won't matter anyways. Jim, I love how you think you're so important that the show would just end.
As it is now. As it is now. Two Guys, One Coup would be over. As it is now. There'll be a lot of people coming in to be your second guest. It might be more successful. Who knows?
I'm going to have to get like a clone, like a look-alike. I don't want to change the logo.
Yeah, actually.
It's like we just did that.
You'll get somebody that can edit and do all that stuff. That's what you'll do.
Maybe.
Because I'm pretty much
I might get somebody useful.
I'm useless to the show.
You are, Jim. You're an integral part to the show and to my life. Without you, yes, I would probably have easier things.
But if my wife killed me,
but
you would still go on with the show, though.
Jim, I would record live from the funeral.
With Lori as your special guest.
Special guest. Jimmy's wife.
Oops.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Everybody knows.
Anyway, let's go back to the the WAPOF.
The WAPOF recommends that teen girls as young as 15 undergo double mastectomies. The removal of healthy breast tissue, or what is commonly and euphemistically called top surgery. That sounds a lot more pleasant, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course.
Then what it, So previously, the guidance was 17. They lowered that 2 years. WAPOF recommends that 16-year-old boys are able to obtain breast augmentation, so implants, and facial surgeries that include rhinoplasty, which is nose surgery. Oh, tracheal shave. Here we go.
Oh,
but maybe if I read. There it is. As we thought. That's just how smart we are. Surgery to reduce the size of male patients' Adam's apple. I mean, look at that. Look at tracheal shave. We knew, Jim.
Painful.
We didn't even have to go to. And genioplasty, surgery to reconstruct the chin. It's not booze. Reconstruct the chin or jaw. For genital reconstruction and sterilization, WAPOF recommends the patients to be 17 years old to consent to a metioplasty, which is the creation of a pseudopenis. So that's putting on a fake penis, which generally they take the skin from the forearm, and that's how they create a male penis. So 17, a woman can go ahead and do that.
You know a lot about this. That kind of...
well, don't I? Unfortunately, research will teach you a lot. Hey, I didn't know a tracheal shave. Learned something today, didn't we?
Yeah.
You know, the only remaining surgery recommended for adults aged 18 is the phalloplasty, which is the creation of the penis, which takes skin grafts from elsewhere in the body, often flesh taken from the forearm. I don't know. Maybe I could be a doctor here. the point being, people,
This is
they're
crazy.
willing to give. They're willing to give puberty blockers, remove healthy breasts, put fake penises on biological females, all under the age of 18, some as low as 14. And guess what, folks? This kind of translates right into our discussion and interview with January Littlejohn and Vernadette Broyles, her attorney.
And if you haven't watched What is a Woman, there is an individual on there that went through all of this, the surgery from a woman to a man.
Yep.
Hear his story.
And that's a good point, because he did. He held up his I didn't know what it meant at the time, actually. Even watching it twice, I was like, why is he holding up his arm? I don't even know what it means. Well, he's got scars on it, and that's what they took. He was a woman. She was a woman. To become a man. It's a tragic story, really.
Well, it's because they didn't get all the pubic hairs out of the vaginal area, and he has hair growing inside his body that causes bacteria that he has to go. I mean, just look at it.
Multiple surgeries.
So
just watch
there's warning signs out there, because there's too many people out there that don't want to tell you the negative side. And folks, you're asking your body to do something it's not meant to do.
It's unnatural. It's absolutely unnatural.
Do not listen to some of these people that say that doctors who assign you sex at birth is wrong. No, there's a reason you are a male or a female at birth. There is a reason.
Exactly.
So this isn't easy. Right. This is not something that I can't fathom anyone under the age of 18 doing this. I
can't either. I can't fathom anyone under the age of 18 doing it. I can't fathom people who don't involve the parent or guardian of anyone under the age of 18 that wants to do this. And I can't fathom those who support it. I can't get in their brain. I can't figure it out. I just can't figure it out. I think most normal thinking people do. But as you'll hear in the interview, there are forces against us that are against that, because they are, there's a lot of money. There's a lot of time and money being put into this. Did we freeze up? Did we freeze up, Jim?
You did.
Yeah, I did for a second there. I don't know if it'll come through that way, folks, but if it does, I apologize. Jim, you got really dark there for a minute too, so I don't know if something happened on your end. Did you see that on your end or not? Are you frozen up again? Or are you pretending that God, Jim, I'm trying. I cannot be serious with you. This is, Jim, you're an embarrassment.
Hey, when we become professional, you'll have to find somebody else.
Jim, no, I never would. I don't want professional. I want Jim.
No, I did notice that. Yeah, it got dark.
Yeah. It got dark, and I froze up there. It looked like the recording stopped for a second. Probably didn't. So as I'm talking, none of this is even going to matter to the show. But anyways, we're going to get on with this, because Jim's really aggravating me to death today. I love Jim this way, by the way. I love Jim this way. Yeah. I wouldn't want him any other way. Man, there's some other ways.
Well, maybe. Yeah.
Well, a little bit. Yeah. Folks, listen. We've got January Littlejohn. You need to listen to this. Her attorney, Vernadette Broyles. Keep in mind when listening to it, we'll talk more about it afterwards, that January went through this gender dysphoria or gender transitioning issue with her own daughter without her knowledge from the school. She's been through this, so she's firsthand experience. And remember that the attorney, Vernadette, has a biology degree. She's got a bachelor's in biology, and she's got a law degree from Harvard.
Where's the bachelor's degree from?
Yale. Bachelor's in biology from Yale. Law degree from Harvard. And her organization, and she'll tell you all about that and what's going on. But folks, we've got limited time to fight this Title IX crap. Yeah. Seriously. I've gone on long enough. You need to hear this. We'll come back afterwards to review and wrap it all up. We want to welcome again to the show for a second time January Littlejohn and her attorney Vernadette Broyles. Just as a kind of brief reminder, January is Leon County, Florida mom who is out there fighting daily for the gender indoctrination that the public school system is trying to put into schools all across the country, but specifically there in Leon County. She's got firsthand experience with her own child. We can maybe review that a little bit more. Vernadette is her attorney. She is the president and general counsel and founder of the Child and Parental Rights Campaign Incorporated. She's experienced family law litigator and guardian ad litem, representing the best interest of children in court, and has been an advocate for student privacy, parental rights, and Title IX protections, which is exactly where we want to start today. If we could, Vernadette, can you explain Title IX, what's at stake, and when is this supposed to be implemented by the Biden administration?
Be happy to, and thank you so much for having us on this morning. You guys are always such great hosts. So most people understand Title IX as having perhaps something to do with sports, but indeed Title IX was passed in 1972, 50 years ago, essentially at that time in order to protect girls and women's opportunities in education all across the board. And so what is so perverse about what the Biden administration is trying to do now, they have issued a public notice in the Federal Register of their intent to change the regulations that implement Title IX. And what everyone needs to understand is that they're purposely going around Congress, our elected representatives, to change a law that impacts about 77 million children and young people across the country. It regulates every single school, college, university, graduate school, K through 12 and on up to, graduate school, professional school that receives federal funds. That is even private schools that receives federal funds.
Yeah.
And so they're wanting to change these regulations that touch so many lives in a way that is going to be so destructive. So what are they looking to do? Well, Title IX was passed to forbid discrimination based upon sex, biological sex, right? So that protected girls and women. And obviously protected men as well, or boys. But now they want to change that definition of the scope of Title IX to broaden it to now include sexual orientation and gender identity. So what does that mean? Well, sex and gender identity cannot coexist at the same time. That if you're now basing your enforcement on gender identity rather than the sex, the gender identity is going to consume, it's going to override sex because the two are mutually exclusive. So the protections that was once there for girls and for women based upon their sex, like sports or privacy facilities, will now be totally overwritten to now allow access or participation based on gender identity. But it's even broader and more insidious, more harmful than that. Because what this change of the regulations is going to do, it's going to force on every single school as a federal mandate the adoption of gender identity ideology as policy in the school. It's going to require what the regulations do is that they assume that if you don't treat a child in accordance with their gender identity, that you harm a child. They literally use those words, that you're harming a child. So every single school will be forced to adopt gender affirmation unquestioningly, immediately, as soon as a child proclaims a different gender identity, without requiring notice or consent of parents. Pause on that. Without requiring any medical involvement of medical personnel, without no legal documentation, nothing. Immediate and unquestioning affirmation. Well, as January is going to explain probably just a little bit, that is social affirmation, and that is a mental health intervention that school officials are not qualified to make. And now they're going to be mandated to affirm as policy, otherwise risk losing federal funds. And again, without any notice or involvement of parents being involved. We're going to see secret social transitioning of children, with school officials being bold and feeling absolutely empowered by the Biden administration that they are authorized to make these decisions for your children, for my children, for all of our children, while not even consulting with us. That is a bombshell to parental rights.
Frightening, absolutely frightening. Thank you for that explanation. That put it clearly what's at stake here. In January, if you want to kind of, discuss it a little bit more, and how it really almost affected you, and how it could affect everybody else if this comes to fruition.
Sure. So it's essentially stripping away all the progress that we've made in restoring parental rights, especially in this one area. So in Florida, we should have never needed the Parent Bill of Rights and the Parental Rights in Education law, but we were trying as a state to make it very clear that parents have the fundamental right to direct the upbringing of their children, which includes mental health care and medical care. So what happened to my family was not an isolated incident. They did socially transition my child behind my husband's back, which means they allowed my child to choose an alternate name, pronoun. They asked her which restroom she wanted to use and which sex she preferred to room with in overnight field trips. And so that process is called social transitioning. And as Vernadette stated, this is a mental health psychosocial intervention that schools are grossly unqualified to be making, specifically without parent involvement and notification. Now, the second thing that has been happening is when I asked what happened when my child came home and said that this meeting had occurred that I was not aware of, they withheld the information. And so we're really going backwards now to where schools will have complete control over what happens with your child while they are at school. And they will not feel the need, and they will not be, they won't have to, by law, include the parent in critical decisions that are taking place with your child, which includes affirming an alternate gender identity. And so when you say gender identity, we're not talking just male and female. We're talking gender ideology terms, which includes 73, 74 genders. I don't know how many they're up to right now. But we're talking about non-scientific identities based on a child's feeling. And this indoctrination is happening through many different outlets, but some of them are happening right in the school system, where they're giving, worksheets like the gender unicorn or the genderbread person, where they're teaching children that gender identity is completely separate from their biological sex, and that they choose their gender identity. And you can be male, you can be female, you can be neither, or you can be both. So very non-scientific identities that are based on feeling, not biological reality. So I think it's important that your audience need to know that this is happening simultaneously at the same time as the Biden administration now making it where schools must affirm a child's feeling and not include the parent. And the biggest thing from my perspective as a mental health professional is that they are no longer seeing a discordant gender identity as a mental health issue that it truly is. That is one of the biggest issues from a mental health standpoint that I see occurring, because many of these children have co-occurring psychiatric issues, comorbid mental health issues, such as anxiety, depression. I see a lot of self-harm with these teens, cutting, anorexia. Many of these girls are on the autism spectrum. And so at the same time that these laws are being changed and implemented, where schools can only affirm, we also have a social contagion aspect happening, where we are seeing an explosion of prepubescent and pubescent teen girls suddenly identifying as transgender, whether it means they're gender fluid, non-binary, the opposite sex, like actually identifying as male, and then they're only being affirmed. And this is incredibly harmful, because we know from research once you affirm a child in a discordant gender identity, it makes them less likely that they will desist. And from anecdotal research that I've done, I still get families contacting me weekly, waking up to this. Either their child's been socially transitioned at school and they're just now finding out about it, or their child is making a pronouncement out of nowhere that they are transgender. And these children have never had any issues with gender confusion, distress over their sex, none of it. And so that is how we know that this is a social contagion among children. And it's really, really harmful, not just to the child, but it's harmful to the parent-child relationship. Because when schools are stepping in and doing these social transitions, it creates a huge wedge between the parent and child relationship. And the children that we know have desisted, it is because the parent did not affirm. It's because they lovingly held that child to biological reality and helped that child, either through therapy or on their own, figure the root cause of that child's true distress. And they resolve that issue with their child.
Wow. The only way to resolve it. And when they don't allow parent involvement, you can't resolve it. It's terrible. Jim, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's fine. What scares me with what what we're hearing today is we've heard a lot of quotes from people from history, Lenin, Marx, Karl Marx, and of course Adolf Hitler. And how many times do we hear that they say they don't need us? Just give me your children. And in a way, this is what the Biden administration is doing, in my opinion, and you can affirm it or, but I just feel like with that comment about taking parents out of the equation, he just did it. He just said, I don't need you. I want your children. And then the other thing is, January and Vernadette, where do they feel the qualifications for a counselor or a teacher or an administrator to honestly be able to talk to these children about this? Why where are they getting that these individuals, just because they're educators, can do this?
What has happened here, Jim, is that there is a very powerful lobbying bloc group of activists on a national level, and they have chapters in each of the states that have infiltrated the teachers' unions and have found sympathetic ears in many of the school boards, that they believe in ideology. This is an ideological divide, and it's an ideological agenda. And so that's what we need to understand here is what these regulations, they ultimately do is that they would codify indoctrination of children in an ideology that tells children something that's untrue. That you can be born in the wrong body, and these are adult authority figures in the lives of children. I want to be really clear, and I think January absolutely joins me in this. We are here to champion the children that will be vulnerable to this ideology, and I tell you, the numbers are growing all the time. Yep. The percentages they're skyrocketing, so much so that some foreign countries have become alarmed about it. So the more this is reinforced, it becomes a positive feedback cycle. And here are the implications. Once you start a child on social transition, then it leads in a very high percentage then to medical transition. And these are physical alterations of a child's body while they're still in development. We're not talking about adults. We're talking about developing children and young people. That leads most of the time ultimately to infertility and sterilization, as well as many other health risks, the interruption of their normal body development. All parents and educators should be alarmed about enforcing a ideology that has these kinds of sweeping impacts on children. If you put them down on this path, it's almost like a school to gender clinic pipeline we're creating here. But what and so The other things that I want to there's a few other impacts that we should also unpack as well for your listeners.
Sure.
And that is what this is going to do to girls' sports and girls' opportunities and girls' privacy and safety. Ironically, this was a law that was passed initially to give girls opportunities, but now
Exactly.
you're going to be forcing girls to compete in unfair circumstances against biological males. Scholarships that go with that, or to share privacy spaces alone without supervision with biological males, or who supervises that locker room now? Is it going to be a male that identifies as a female teacher? And now, a girl has to just put up with an adult male in her privacy space. This is
Predators.
untenable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And-
predatory.
Yeah, and
Bernadette.
that you can speak to the fact that all these states that have passed laws to try to back this up, so like transgender sports laws where they are keeping biological males from competing against biological females, you can speak to how the federal law will supersede state protections that have
Yes.
been passed and implemented by those state legislatures.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead,
let me
please.
explain
Yeah.
that, because there's so much here. We're really trying to stay focused, but what parents understand is there is no state in which parents and girls will be safe from this, because the regulations have a preemption clause, a clause that says any state, anywhere where the state law is in conflict with these regulations, i.e. parental rights laws, girls' sport protection laws, well, the federal law, these regulations will trump the state and local protections. So there's
Wow.
going to be no hiding from this thing anywhere. The other thing that people really need to understand is just two other really devastating aspects of this, and that is the impact on free speech and religious liberties. Because what now happens with when you have a child that is taught, like my children, I taught them biological reality. I'm a biologist, but also I taught them in accordance. Many parents teach their children to believe the word, the Bible or the Torah, that teach males, females. God made as male and female. Well,
Correct.
what happens when they try to hold those teachings or biological reality in their speech? They're going to be, and teachers for that matter, we heard this week from a teacher saying, we need your help because I'm trying to uphold reality, and now my principal is punishing me. This is going to be across the board.
We're seeing it actually.
And then
Wow.
you have finally these Title IX coordinators. They're going to become effectively federal law enforcers in our schools. They're given significantly increased authority to enforce these in the public school, to require that any violation of these rules will have to be reported to them, and they can make complaints even if the child doesn't want to.
You're kidding.
Yes, which means that it is. I absolutely foresee. There's no question that Child Protective Services will be unleashed on parents.
Correct.
Oh my!
Because why? Because because this regulation says in black and white, if you fail to treat a child in consistent with their gender identity, that harms a child. Well, when you harm a child, you're mandated
Who gets called?
orders.
Yep.
Child Protective Services. That's not far-fetched because it's already started
Yeah.
without the
Correct.
regulations.
Yeah, she's exactly right. And that's already happening in multiple states. And I heard it with my own ears during the revised LGBTQ guide discussion. So there are absolutely school board members, teachers that fundamentally believe if you do not support your child in whatever identity they choose, that is harmful. And they use the term supportive constantly. We have to protect these children from unsupportive families, is what they say. And I think that is a really, really dangerous, slippery slope. And parents need to really be paying attention to this because, from my perspective, it is harmful to affirm a child in a lie that will lead to their sterilization.
Yes.
Agreed.
And lead to bodily physical harm from these experimental treatments. And so
Yep.
there's the truth that is just not getting disseminated, especially in the mainstream media, about what gender affirming care truly means.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Wow. How do you stop this? How can it be stopped?
You know, I am convinced that we can and must act, and there are certain strategic things that we must do. I don't want to, we didn't want to just come onto the show to let everybody know how the freight train is going to run over them and just learn how to lay there and let it happen. So the federal law requires that anytime a federal agency puts out a notice of making new regulations, that they're required to allow the public to feed back to them public comments. So there's a public comment process, and in which you are entitled to by law. Now, what the goal here is that in this situation is this: we need to flood the Federal Register and the Department of Education with our public comments for basically two purposes. Number one, they're not accustomed to this. They chose this avenue because they knew this is inside ball. This is much, not as well understood. And they bypassed Congress to do that. But that's okay. We have figured it out. And so we have a website that people can go to, that they can click on it, and it'll take them right to the Federal Register. And the bottom line is that we want to flood them with public comments, and they can't be cookie cutter. They can't just be all the same things just over and over again, because what the law requires, the Federal Practice Act requires, is that the agency has to take in consideration all the comments it receives and all the different types of impacts that its regulations would have. And if it fails to do that, then a court can undo those regulations. So we want, number one, we want to slow them down. That they have to, they get a 500,000 comments, if they get a couple 100,000, 100,000 comments, that they have to take the time to consider them and to respond to them, adequately. Otherwise, they risk being undone. That gives us time potentially for new Congress to come into place, and a new Congress might be able to step in. But if not, then there's a second thing that's really important, is that almost certainly, in fact, I know for a fact, the states are going to sue, because there are states like Florida and Alabama, et cetera, that find this absolutely unacceptable.
Yep.
Not to mention there'll be nonprofit, there'll be lawyers that sue on behalf of parents and girls, et cetera. There's going to be lawsuits. And so our comments then put into the record of the Federal Registry that, you got 10,000 comments on how this is going to destroy girls' sports or parental rights or whatever the case may be, and you failed to adequately address that, and Congress never considered this when they passed this law. So because you have overstepped the congressional authority here, then it needs to be undone. And that's really the play, is to seed the record for getting this thing undone if necessary when the lawsuits come.
And what is the website, Vernadette?
Sure.
That they can,
they can. I mean, the Federal Register website, I don't, it's long and I don't have that memorized. So
that's fine. I'll look that up.
Our website, we have created a Title IX page that explains everything we just talked about in a really succinct way, and then has a button that takes you right to the Federal Register. It's not to us, it's to the Federal Register. And that website is childparentrights.org /Title IX /.
Got it. We'll make sure we get that out to
All
everybody
right.
as well.
Now, what's also on there, Dale, are some resources we created. And this is really important for your listeners to recognize these resources there. Most people here, I would think, even me, I heard about public comments. Goodness, what do I say? What's going to be effective? How do I do this? So we wanted to make it extremely easy for people to create their own public comment, because it can't be cookie cutter. All right, it's got to be unique. So we've created on there comment starters for parents, for educators, and for community leaders, pastors, activists, parental rights leaders, etc., community leaders, where that we put into these documents the essential elements that are needed about your background, about each of the issues, and then and it's just a starter, and then you complete it. In other words, I'm a parent from what such and such state. I'm concerned about how this is going to violate my parental rights because, and then you can put your own story, you can put your own evidence, whatever.
Great.
And on each issue, it has a starter, and then you put your own thing underneath it. You decide which one matters to you. And that way you can very easily, put these together and then go to the website, upload these. Yeah.
Yep. That's great. That's a great, because a lot of people would not know how to start it. And so that really is a helpful tool, and then keeps it still unique where they have to pay attention to it. So go on, January.
Yeah, we're already seeing real world consequences of schools that have jumped the gun, and they're already implementing this as if it's already law. And so, for instance, there's a teacher down in South Florida, I believe it's Brevard County. His name is Matt Woodside. And he's been very vocal because he is a PE teacher in a public school. And he had a situation that occurred where a biological female undressed in front of him and other male students. And in any other circumstance, that would be completely unacceptable. And she undressed her top, had no undergarments on, and because she identifies as a male, this is all of a sudden okay. What about the rights of those other male students that were completely uncomfortable with what was occurring? This is very confusing for children and teens. It is very harmful on so many levels, and kids look to us, the adults, to make sense of their world, and we are failing them right now.
Yep, correct.
We have got to
sadly
pick it up and say, this is not okay. This is not what is in the best interest of children, and it must stop now.
Right. Absolutely.
And what about what happens to one of those boys that 30 years later, they're up for some sort of nomination and they're accused of inappropriate, or the young lady herself, someday she desists from the dysphoria, and now she has the memory of having undressed in front of males. So she now has to deal with those decisions. All of this.
And Vernadette, and it's and the social media aspect of it. You mean to tell me that nobody's taking pictures on their cell phones? Everyone's got a cell phone. Everyone's got a smartphone. It
leaves young ladies incredibly vulnerable. You're absolutely.
It sure does.
Yes.
Once again, that website is. I just want to make sure your viewers get that so they can act, because we can get the impacts, but we need to know how to act. And again, it's childparentrights.org/Title 9, a title, 1X as a
IX, 1X,
slash. And you'll find down there a very short call to action that will explain all of this. The comment starters for parents, for community leaders, for educators, and then for maybe other organizations who want a deeper analysis, when we have a deeper, longer legal analysis as well.
Yeah.
And January, last word.
It's going to impact all families. I think that some people naively feel that their child is not vulnerable in some way. But even Vernadette said, this is going to impact free speech. We've already seen instances where kids were accused of sexual harassment for misgendering a student.
Right.
That
correct
is a gross overstep and violation of free speech. And it shouldn't take lawsuits to work these kinds of situations out.
Yep, exactly.
And that type of situation can affect the child's college aspirations. I mean, if that's on their record. So
Any
yeah,
professional.
this is a scary. This is bigger than just like you said, than just parents. That's that's not going to happen, or because
Yeah, what
there
does it
are a
mean?
lot of
They don't really
parents
know.
that are still they don't know this stuff is coming. They don't know what's going on, and because they don't listen to the right people. But and it just worries me, especially with January. You gave the statistics on people on the kids that get harmed by the affirmation and all of this stuff. They don't use those statistics. That side they say, well, look at the suicide rate going up. Well, somebody on our side could sit there and say, well, the suicide rate's going up because they're not being prepared correctly. They're not, so you always hear that side, but you never hear the other side. And that's where it becomes a problem for me.
Well, Jim,
Yeah,
the other
for
thing
sure.
that we're not hearing about at all is while the United States is full steam ahead and ratifying this into law and forcing schools to affirm children in false identities, you've got 4 other countries, UK, Sweden, Finland, and France, that have done a actual evidence-based assessment of what these experimental treatments are, and they have either stopped or have seriously paused because they are seeing the harm, the physical harm being caused from these puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and double mastectomies that are occurring on minors. So it is beyond my understanding why the United States is taking the stance that it is. But going back to what Vernadette said in the beginning, you've got these ideologues that have infiltrated every aspect of our culture, our medical associations, our psychological associations. And so until we can really get the truth about what this is out there, I don't see the tide turning like it has in other countries.
Right.
Agreed. I agree.
I want to just add my last thoughts to all of this.
Please.
And number one is we have tremendous compassion for kids that are very genuinely going through distress with their body. There's many things. We don't have time to go through it now. There are many things that are involved in that. And we understand that there may be a time, need for accommodations, in unique circumstances, absolutely. But what does not make sense is when you force an ideology across the board on every student, on all schools. And, and part of what's been happening here, why this has gotten so far, candidly, has been the element of intimidation. There's been tremendous intimidation brought to bear on parents or professionals who have been sounding the alarm that this is not a benevolent approach to children, that this is experimental, that we need to reconsider this like other countries are. There's been tremendous intimidation brought to bear. But you know what? We have just simply got to ignore that and speak the truth out of love for these children, for our children. And the last thing is this, Erica Anderson, someone I had disagreed vehemently for a long time. This person is, a gender specialist and has transitioned many, 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 many children. But this person, themselves said on national television, cutting out parents at this time is not right. It actually then puts children in harm's path. Yep. And so if someone like Erica Anderson can be saying that, well, then the Biden administration needs to pay attention. So let's all go out there, not be intimidated, act now. September 12th is when the comment period closes. Don't wait. Do it this week. You have the website, and call our organization if we can be of help. So thank you.
Okay.
Thank you both, Vernadette, January. Again, we appreciate you coming on and sharing this with our audience and everyone, and keeping up the fight, because it's clearly it's bigger than what you're ever going to hear out there, especially if you're listening to mainstream media and you're following that along. These are the stories that aren't being told. So thank you both. You guys are tremendous people, and we appreciate you keeping up the fight. And please, as more news happens, come back. Let us know. We'd be more than happy to have you back. So thank you again, both of you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Have a good day. Again, thank you to January and Vernadette for coming on the show again for a second time. Scary stuff, folks, honestly. But there is hope. Just so you know, you got to go do what they told you to do, and you've got to get to the website. I know you all heard it. I will review it again. It is childparentrights.org/Title 9, and the 9 is important because it's the IX. It's the Roman numeral. Title 9 / I think that's it, right? Just a forward slash after that. Unless I said that wrong. I'm sorry, Jim, if I did.
No, it's forward.
You'll hear it on there.
Forward slash.
Okay. You have to go on there. Like there's a template. There's a way to follow it. They all have to be unique in their own way. So it's they help you to start it. You finish writing it, and you've got to inundate it. Like they said, we have till September 12th to do this. That's not a long time, folks. We're within a month. You heard what's at stake. You heard what they're doing. The ramifications of this being shoved down your throats from the Biden administration go well beyond, Johnny wants to be a girl and run track for the girls' track team. This like we said, this is bad enough, but this gets bad. It's bypassing Congress.
Is bypassing the Congress, the Senate. This is being done by an administration who is taking the parents' rights completely out of it. And folks, it's as we mentioned earlier in the show, this is more than just sports.
Way more.
All right, this is now in the schools where now you can start the process, the non-surgical, maybe even medical could be in there in terms of pills and stuff like that. But the non-invasive stuff can be done without your consent. And if you as a parent fight it or refuse to acknowledge it, CPS can be called.
Yep. Child Protective Services. If you even call them by the wrong gender. The right gender, but the gender they want to be addressed as.
Right.
It could be deemed as a threat. And you're harming the child. When you harm a child, CPS is called. I saw a story earlier, and I didn't review it, but where a CPS agent took a child from the house and then started talking about that child about prostituting themselves. Did you see that, Jim? I don't know if you saw that quick story. We didn't do it, and I meant to talk about that. So you tell me now, they had talked also on there, Jim, which was highly concerning, which are these Title IX coordinators or whatever they're going to be called.
More money.
Well, more
federal
money,
funds
but more
going into something that is not needed. So anyway,
and more control over you as a parent.
Right.
We had talked about it. We can speculate. Is that where some of the 87,000 IRSS agents are going to go? Or I don't know. I mean,
guys, they got to be doing something.
At nothing.
They have. There's no, why would you do it? I mean, I know they want to say that the Trump administration severely cut the IRS, and so some of these are replaced. That no, this is all bullshit.
No way.
This is all smoke and mirrors. All of these things being done is being done for a reason. And this is, guys, this, I cannot emphasize this enough. I mean, when Biden sits there and says, and because we talked to, I think it was off the air, but when Biden makes this comment that the parents, it's, the kids, the counselors and stuff can do it without the parent consent, it just brings us back to Lenin, Marx. Not John Lennon either. Lenin, Marx, and
but even
Hitler.
more, who? Yeah, even more Hitler.
Yeah,
it's experimental. I think we all remember the stories, and we all maybe you don't because you're not seeing it in the history, right? I mean, I don't know if they're seeing it anymore, of where Adolf Hitler would do experimental tests on twins, right? That was a big one, twins. But he'd also try to create the perfect race, and he was trying. So that's part of all of this cloning twins. I mean, it was all. What's different between that and them changing your child's gender and giving them harmful puberty blockers detrimental to their health? What's different between that and them not telling you as a parent than what Adolf Hitler did? Tell me the difference. I I don't know.
It goes with what
I
Paige
don't.
said
I see a lot of similarities
on our little 15-minute with Paige about the teacher who asked for the students personal email.
Personal.
Why do you need you have a school email?
Why do you need that?
Every
Correct.
child has one now, I think.
Yep.
Why would you need their personal one? None of their
Why
business.
do you need a personal one?
None of their business.
Exactly.
And we have too many people turning the blind eye, because you're going to have all these people that, because I know a lot of them. Well, I'm against abortion myself, but I don't want to. But if a woman wants to have it, that's not my business. This is the same line that we're talking about, folks. Oh, well, exactly. I would never let my child go through that. But, no, stop. This is dangerous. This is heading down a very dangerous path. And
correct.
And our children are the guinea pigs, like Dale put.
They are
the science experiment.
They're the guinea pigs.
So
they're the guinea pigs. And this is what they're doing, folks. And at Title IX, if you don't go to there and fill that out, I got to be honest with you, shame on you if you don't do it. If you're listening and you don't fill it out, shame on you. And if you don't share it.
You heard the 4 nations,
shame on you.
Right? You heard the 4 European nations that they talked about that have studied it and have decided and stopped it. The United States is going full bill into it.
Yep, there's just that's it. Yeah, they're going at light speed rates to get this through, and it is a major game changer, and it's one step closer to Marxism, to communism, to it's one step closer.
So if you want to look at the conservative movement and call it fascist, go back and look at the Hitler days, go back and look at the Mussolini days. And tell me what this looks like.
Look at today with this.
It's the
look at Title IX and tell me if that's
Party.
fascist. Yep. Yeah, if that's conservative. Look at Title IX. Tell me if that's anything conservative in there about that. Yep. And they mention it in there. Oddly enough, it began to protect women. That's what Title IX did. 50 years ago, it protect women, and now they're utilizing it to. Oh, it's a game changer, folks. You got to share it. You got to inform everybody you know. You got to get this out there. And honestly, like I said, shame on you if you don't share it. Right. Shame on you if you don't do it. Don't bitch about it if you don't go participate in trying to stop it.
Go to the childparentrights.org that they talked about, because that'll take you right to it. And like they said, you got to have a meaningful. It can't be a cookie cutter. And they're on the website, as they explained it. You follow it. They give you a guideline that you follow and why this is important to you, why this has got to stop. And you
can also donate to that child and parental rights campaign too, which is super important. And if you at all appreciate the knowledge and the information and the fight that Vernadette and January are doing, then you're going to want to donate. Yep. They need it, folks. Yep. They just need the help. And we can do that. We can help them. So, again, thank you, January. Thank you, Vernadette. Again, we'd love to have them on under better circumstances, right?
Like next time it was defeated.
Yeah, like hopefully next time it's defeated. And that's when we can have them on to celebrate. But we can't do it without your help, folks, honestly. And literally, if you've got 500 people on your friends list and 300 of them are flaming liberals and they're never going to see it, who cares? Send it. Just send it out to everybody so they can choose to go on and do it if they want. Because you're like Jim and I say, you're not going to see it on CNN. You're not going to see any of this on MSNBC. You're not going to see it in the New York Times, Los Angeles Times, the Washington Post. You're not going to see any of this in that. You got to get it out there. The only way to do it is to spread it through social media, and until they take us down. But keep spreading it and keep spreading it, and keep telling everybody you know about it as well. Right. Word of mouth. Word of mouth is will get this news around. All right, Jim. I've gone on too long. Thank you, everyone, for listening again and the support. Again, thank you, January and Vernadette. It was an honor to have them on. As honestly, as always, just wonderful people and really fighters. I wouldn't want to go against them. That's for sure.
Nope.
Jim, thank you for your contribution, as lame as it might have been.
As always.
As usual. As always. Sorry, we had a little fun earlier. Some serious stuff going on. It's what we do here.
We have to laugh, folks.
We have to laugh. We do have to laugh. Again, everyone have a wonderful weekend. We will be back next Tuesday with another episode. Again, please share, follow, subscribe. Mark Kramer will tell you how to do that right here at the end. We really do appreciate it. It helps get the word out about stories like what we just did.
If there's a story that you guys have heard about that we haven't talked about, please send it to us.
By all means, send it. And we're getting a lot of it. And we get a lot of political ones, and we do. And I appreciate that, because we need to, we do need to talk about all that stuff. We just have limited time, until Jim and I can do this every day. And then we can talk about everything.
Please,
out there.
Because we can't hit everything, and we know there's more stuff out there. But right now, we just feel we want to hit on the things that are the biggest things right now. The economy is where it's at. It's just, it is what it is. And we hope
it's a shambles.
We know it's not going to improve. I'm sorry. I don't care.
Just not.
The only reason inflation dropped the last month was because
gas prices
and interest rates went up, because that's what you have to do. And so it's happening, folks. Gas prices, I think today, are up again. So it's a sham. They're going to try to hold this off as long as they can until the midterms, and then it's going to fall shit. I mean, it is. It's so we know that, but we really believe this climate change stuff, because so much of our money is going towards that. The IRS agents were hired under that bill.
Under that bill. That's where they were hired under.
That
correct?
Bill.
Okay. The one that had 100% partisan support.
Yep.
It was Democrats voted for it,
Yep.
Republicans did not.
Yep.
And that's why. And also, no word yet on our good friend Liz Cheney, but I'm going to say it now. Goodbye, Liz Cheney, forever.
When you have to ask the Democrats to jump over.
Yep. Goodbye,
in a
Liz
conservative
Cheney.
Republican
Sayonara.
I just don't see that. I just don't see it.
See you later. Don't care. Glad she's going. Jim, have a good weekend. We've gone on too long. I appreciate it. And we'll see you all next Tuesday.
Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Two Guys, One Coup podcast with Dale and Jim. Remember, you can watch on YouTube and Rumble, and listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. And if you like what you hear, go ahead and give us a 5-star review. We really appreciate it, and it helps others find us when searching for podcasts. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and TikTok. Just search for Two Guys, One Coup. That's the number 2, guys, and the number 1, Coup, C-O-U-P. Thanks again for listening to the Two Guys, One Coup podcast, and God bless the United States of America.